and welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer Diamond and I live a whole food, plant-exclusive, sofas-free, gluten-free lifestyle for health and well-being. And today I wanted to bring you along to discuss something that's really important: supplements. Why do we need supplements? Where do they come from? What's in our supplements? So today I wanted to take some time and talk with you about supplements and introduce you to a new friend of mine, Steven Abbey. He knows more about supplements than anyone I've met so far. Steven is a successful entrepreneur and seasoned investor and is the visionary behind SOS Nutrients, a Santa Barbara-based organic supplement company he started in October of 2022. He was kind enough to send me this bag of SOS Nutrients, and I have been using it to make all the smoothie recipes on his website. So I'm super excited to talk with Steven today. Steven, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to share about SOS Nutrients, supplements, and just the impact that is having on our health. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so can you tell me, why did you choose to create SOS Nutrients?
Well, it's a longer story. One, I had my own health issues dating back almost 30 years ago, where I had a really bad case of psoriasis. I had reactive hypoglycemia. I had a weight issue. I had chronic fatigue. I was not doing well. So I was really struggling and ended up just diving into the research because I was going to all these doctors and it wasn't getting better, right? And this is how I suspect most people that really get into this field start out with their own issues. And well, it was definitely the case with me. And then I ended up figuring out my issues, but I was so fascinated with what I saw with other things: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, et cetera, where I saw all this amazing research and it wasn't being translated into the general public, where there was easy access for that information and easy way of accomplishing getting those nutrients. And so I was studying more and more, and then I unfortunately helped three friends go through the last months of their life as part of their support team. And on the third person, I was just so traumatic that I decided to create something so that hopefully we can avoid these kind of things, because there really is so much power that we have in our hands. And that's what I'm excited to explore with you today.
Yeah, wow. Well, it seems like so many people, a lot of people end up going this direction due to their own personal experiences and health issues. And, I can completely relate to you. And of course, because of my own struggles as well. And, it's pretty incredible and very honorable that you wanted to share and spread the word to the point where you dove in, and now you have a supplement that you're very proud of, and I'm super excited to share about as well. And I didn't mention earlier, but we're even going to be making a smoothie at the end of this, and so everyone can have a recipe and try it out, and hopefully try your product as well. So did you want to tell me anything? Like, should we give a little bit of some background and just share with people a little bit about what you were finding, or anything else that you want to share?
Sure. Well, I created this product, and originally I created it, and part of the reason why we're doing a smoothie today is because there's only so much you can do in a product. You're not going to get just a product and that translates into perfect health and you can eat anything you want. And one of the reasons why I designed this as a smoothie additive originally, now not everybody takes it that way, but for me, if you look at overall health, it starts with the foundation of whole plant foods. So my product is all whole plant foods. But if you mix it into a smoothie, so you're now having whole foods on top of whole foods, and now you're getting this tremendous amount of nutrition. And there, again, there's only so much you can get in a powdered product. It covers things that are not in a normal smoothie, such as there's not normally mushrooms in a smoothie, right? There's not normally turmeric in a smoothie. There's not normally a lot of vitamin B or vitamin K2 or vitamin, what is it? Vitamin B12 or iodine or zinc. Most of these things are really not in a smoothie, or even full trace minerals. So this is what I was hoping to do, is really cover those things. But even if nobody ends up buying my product, if they make a healthy smoothie, that is a good thing. And that's what I'm excited to share about. Mine just basically takes that and really takes it to the next level so that it really can show profound results in people.
Yeah, that's amazing. And, that was one of the reasons that I got so excited to do this with you is, I originally was, heard about your product and we met, and I don't know, subconsciously, I kept thinking protein powder, because when I take supplements, they're usually in a capsule or some kind of pill or a liquid. I don't usually find it in a powder like this and packaged this way. And even though I knew supplement, I kept thinking to myself, protein powder. And when it finally clicked, oh my gosh, this is not a protein powder at all. This is a supplement that replaces all the other supplements that I may be taking. I was just astonished, and I thought, okay, now I have to understand, what is this product? And when you explained it, and when I, looked at the back and saw all this stuff, it's all from real whole foods. There's nothing synthetic. I got really excited because I am very careful about my food, right? I like to get as much fresh, wholesome, organic, when it's available, food as possible. But I never think about my supplements. I've never questioned synthetics until I met you. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about the difference between synthetics and real food and how you got it in this bag.
Yeah, well, okay, well, that's a great question. The thing is about this product is because it's whole food and because it's as much nutrition as in there. If you look at the label, you're not likely to see a label like that typically. And that's why it's a big product. It requires 26 grams of material for a full serving. That is, a lot of times people see a capsule and they're saying, well, why don't you just put it into a capsule? Well, a normal capsule, one of the larger ones, is going to have about 700 milligrams. What does that mean? That means it would take about 40 capsules of my product to get in there. And then you're getting a whole bunch of capsules, which are not innocuous either. So that's the reason why I did it in a powder form. And again, my goal is to have people make a smoothie, because that in itself is super healthy. And this just takes it over the top. But what's the difference between a synthetic and a whole food vitamin? I'll give you an example. Most of your listeners have heard about beta carotene, right? So the way that is created is you find it is in orange vegetables like carrot or sweet potato or pumpkin or squash. Anything that has an orange fleshy look to it is going to almost surely have beta carotene. And that has been shown to be incredibly protective for certain types of cancer, for heart disease, brain health, et cetera, et cetera. So there have been multiple studies on, if you look at synthetics, in fact, it's been really well studied. And if you look at the synthetics, they don't work. They actually are a net negative. I'll just say really quickly, there was a study done in 1994 out of Finland, 29,000 people, and published in the New England Journal of Medicine, a very robust double-blind placebo-controlled study. And they did this study because they were saying, wow, beta carotene lowers the risk of lung cancer. And these are all smokers. So let's see how much we can lower the risk of lung cancer. And what ended up happening is they had to stop the study 2 years early because it didn't lower the lung cancer as they expected. It actually increased it by 16%, but it also increased heart disease by 12% and increased ischemic stroke by 23% and hemorrhagic stroke by 15%. So the researchers stopped immediately. Once they had that data, they were just like, wait a minute, something is not going right. And if you look at where that beta carotene came from, it was from Hoffmann La Roche, out of a chemical company out of Switzerland, and it was synthesized from petroleum. So in nature, when you're getting beta carotene, it always comes as a package of all these things in a natural way. And if you believe in any frequencies or anything like that, it comes in a certain way that your body recognizes and can utilize. And when you're getting a synthetic, you're getting just that by itself. It's chemically identical to what you find in nature, but it doesn't work the same. And they know that it was getting into people because the level of beta carotene in their blood went up by 15-fold. So they know that it went up, but it had a very negative result. So you can look at ascorbic acid for vitamin C, same thing, or calcium ascorbate. All of these are synthetics. If you see normal or whole foods, they're going to be listed what those whole foods are. And it shouldn't have things like thiamine hydrochloride, folic acid, all of these sort of things, or zinc gluconate, zinc oxide, potassium iodide. All of these are synthetics. And I try, in fact, I did avoid all of those. And so that's kind of what I see as the difference and why I went down the whole food route.
I was wondering, what's the difference between folic acid and folate? Because I've been hearing a lot about that recently. And I thought, well, maybe you would be able to touch on that a little bit and, let me know your thoughts on that if you have any. Because I quickly check every time I hear something, I quickly check your package and it's like, oh my gosh, there it is as a real food again. And so I keep getting more and more excited about it.
Well, so folic acid is the oxidized form of folate, and it's a synthetic form. So if you see folic acid on, and it is, once again, it's a petroleum product. It's made with other chemicals as well. And to be quite honest, I don't remember what those are off the top of my head. But there have now been studies done on folic acid and how much it lowers all-cause mortality, how much it lowers cancer risk, things like that. And then they looked at synthetics, and again, it didn't work. It actually caused harm. So folic acid is one of those ones I would absolutely recommend staying away from, including, just like I talked about beta carotene. I talked about a 1994 study. There have been multiple studies since there, and a meta-analysis is 2022. So these synthetics, I just try and stay away from. Thiamine hydrochloride is a coal tar, right? And with ammonia and formaldehyde, these are things that are not natural to the human diet. And maybe in very specific ways, they could be helpful, but for daily nutrition, it seems like it would not be a good idea. They look to me more like drugs masquerading as nutrition.
Yeah. So going back for a minute, you were saying, like with the beta carotene, if I was taking a synthetic and I had my blood level checked, I might see that the level goes up, but what is actually happening internally isn't giving me the same benefit as if I just ate an orange vegetable like a carrot or sweet potato or something like that. Is that correct?
Yes. So your blood levels will go up. And I have done studies where you measure the blood level of different nutrients in the body. But it's much better to get these from whole foods, from so many reasons why to say that. But bottom line is, overall, the functionality is totally different.
Yeah. So, I was trying to also figure out what is the real purpose of supplements, because no matter what diet you're eating, even if you're eating the standard American diet, which a lot of people have been brought up on and know as the only way that, that's just how people eat until they're awakened or they try something new or they have a health crisis. But even when you think you're eating the healthiest, best diet, you still would take a supplement. So what is the real purpose of supplements, and how, and even in also in a whole food plant-based, diet, what is the purpose?
Well, so if everybody ate perfectly, you wouldn't need any supplements, including mine. The problem with it is most people don't eat perfectly. There was a study done looking at 20,000, a little over 20,000 people, and they said there wasn't one person with a nutrient deficiency. And it doesn't mean that you're going to die with a nutrient deficiency. It just doesn't mean you're getting optimal nutrition in that one area. Whether that's vitamin C or whether that's, iodine or zinc or whatever it was. When they looked at, there was nobody getting a perfect amount. But really, if you look at deficiency and disease, they are highly related and in nutrition. So for me, what I tried to do with this is create something that was gentle. Let's start there. Like if you look at the Hippocrates, saying first do no harm. So I wanted to have something that was very gentle, that wasn't crazy amounts of nutrients, because nutrients can be toxic if you have too much. The only nutrient I really went crazy high on was vitamin B12. And that is because it's so hard for so many people to absorb, and to get adequate levels in the blood as a plant-based person. You need high levels to absorb it, and it is water soluble, so it flushes out if you end up with too much. So, but pretty much everything I did was very, I'll say gentle. And what I want to do in terms of supplementation, why do people do it? Most people really want to be healthy. They, one, don't know how to do it, and they don't understand the nutrition. And two, they don't really, always connect what they're eating with their with the nutrition. I know that sounds silly, but when I hear of people that have diabetes and what they're eating, they clearly do not understand what they're dealing with. Or if they have hypertension and I see what they're eating, and it's it's just we haven't been taught that traditionally, and even doctors, they're not trained in it either. So we go to doctors for our health, and they are really in the, in disease care. They're going to try and deal with an issue that's come up that might have been caused by a nutritional deficiency, but they really don't know how to deal with it. So I think most people are taking supplements in the hope of they can live their lives the way they want, and not be and avoid a lot of these chronic diseases that they see all around them.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned that if everybody ate perfectly, we wouldn't need your supplement even. But I want to touch on that for a minute, because even if perfectly was attainable, whatever that means, I wonder, it makes me think about the soil. And our soil is missing so much that I believe was in the soil, nutrients and vitamins and even B12 and different things years ago. Our soils are so depleted is that another reason to consider supplements in this manner that come from whole foods to help? What are your thoughts on the soil?
I think we've destroyed our soils. And if you look back, there was a Senate hearing back in 1936. I think it's Senate document 264, if I remember correctly. And at that time, in 1936, they were talking about the mineral deficiencies of our soils. This is in 1936. Our soils have gotten way worse since then, because we just give NPK, or nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, if I remember correctly. That's what we give back to all of our soil, all of our crops, and they grow based on those three minerals, but we're depleting the soil every time we harvest a crop. So our soils have become very minerally deficient. At the same time, with a lot of the GMO stuff, we're spraying huge amounts. They don't have the microbes because that spraying kills the microbes. And so we have this, real problem of we are, denaturing our food supply. And so the minerals and the vitamins are being depleted. And if you look at studies, some of them show that organics are better, and some of them show it's not. from what I can see, based on all the information, organics are better. They have more nutrients in them, and they also have less of the pesticides and things like that. Though it is still allowed, they're just used in a different way and with different versions are allowed. So to me, absolutely, our soils have been completely decimated. And so that is a reason to supplement. So if I'm thinking perfectly, like I have these carrots right here, that's going to go into the smoothie that we're about to do.
Yay.
And that's from my local farmer's market. And I know the farmer and I know how he grows it. And it's a very different experience getting that kind of carrot than going in and buying a conventional store-bought carrot. So
Right. And if people are in an area where they don't have access to farmers markets or, other organic foods, I mean, this is another way to help bring it in. And, I'm not like trying to sell your product or anything like that. I just really honestly, I was so blown away by the fact that it was real food and being aware now and questioning synthetics because I never did that. I just, I keep going back to it because I'm excited about it, and I'm so grateful that you did something, had the desire to create something. But even growing, and this isn't going to take care of eating perfectly, but you, in talking about farmers markets and soil and different things, I mean, even just starting something small, even if you don't have the room, sprouting, creating, becoming one with your food and really getting to know it is really important, I think, for health. And also, yes, questioning where you get it. So if you are lucky enough to have a farmer's market, talk to the farmer, get to know them. I think that's all very important. And so are there other things that you could share that in your studies that would be important that helped you in designing a product?
Well, SOS stands for Science of Supplements. So everything I put in there was based on research that I'd been doing over the last 30 years. So I've been researching how to prevent, I'll say, chronic disease and cover the main components of health. And that's why there are 9 components in this product. There are a whole set of greens with a whole bunch of cruciferous vegetables in there, like broccoli sprouts, broccoli, kale. All of these things are just sulforaphane, which comes from cruciferous vegetables, is just such a good thing. So I have that greens. And then there's a whole section of berries, which are the most nutritious fruit. And they're just so concentrated. They're, 10 times more antioxidants than normal fruits. And not only that, but they're concentrated forms of specific phytonutrients like anthocyanins in the purple blue pigment on like blueberries and blackberries. And then you have zeaxanthin, which are in goji berries, and they're just so good, and they've been shown to be very helpful for anti-cancer, heart protective, brain protective. It's just, they're such good things. And then mushrooms also have so many good things. So I have 9 different components, enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, botanical blend, et cetera, et cetera. I tried to put it all in one so people didn't really need anything else. And if they would, again, make it into a smoothie, that's so much nutrition. And one thing on that, there's something called the phytochemical index, which is just the percentage of your diet that comes from whole plant foods. Now, there was a study done on the United States, and we have 12% of our diet comes from whole plant foods. So 42% come from refined fats and refined sugars. 26% comes from meat, dairy, and eggs. And then 20% from refined grains, and a little 12% from whole plant foods, which is the most important one. And there have now been all these studies done on phytochemical index, or what percentage of your diet is whole plant foods. And it makes a drastic difference in pretty much all diseases. So if somebody makes a good smoothie in the morning, and that's like, for me, when I make it, it's about 20 to 25% of my calories for the day. we're talking about a major increase. And these are really targeted nutrients as well, like really high quality. So it's a way of, if you're not going to be perfect, it's a way of at least starting off on a very good footing.
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. So, just wondering, how many scoops is necessary? Because sometimes I've had supplements and I'm not, packaged differently and they were probably synthetic and all of those things, but it would be like, take three times a day, or take 2 pills 3 times a day. And it could get a little crazy with, how often one needs to, you know, how often you need to take it throughout the day. So how does this product work?
So this product is just once a day. And I tell people it's whole food. So it's 5 to 6 times a week. You don't need to take it every day. In fact, I don't take my own product every day. I kind of give myself a little bit of a break, usually on the weekend, but whatever a day, 1 day, 2 days a week at most, I don't take it. And 2 scoops is a full serving, but I always tell people start with 1 scoop because it's a lot of fiber and it's a lot of nutrition, and let your body gently get used to it. Your microbiome actually changes to what you are eating. And so if you're doing it, to just gently bring it in, and after a couple of weeks, then move up to a full serving, which is 2 scoops. So to me, that's the way to really, in a healthy way, bring on something like this. And it's pretty much covering all the supplements that people buy, unless there's specific things. But it's designed to just generically make people have all of their nutrients covered. It is not like a treatment for a specific disease. I am likely to have those come out because you just need bigger doses, more efficacious. If, like, say, turmeric, which is good for blood sugar, you would have more than what I have. Amla, which is also good for blood sugar, you would have more than what I have. But there are amounts in there, and that will be helpful. And people see a lowering of these things, inflammation, blood sugar, and things like that, if they're out of bounds.
So I just want to touch on, you said it a few times, the word gentle and gently. And I just love that. That is something that you've been focusing on, because in healing myself, that's something that's been very important to me, is to be gentle with myself from all aspects. And so it's really nice to hear that that's what you put into this product. I really love that. And you mentioned possibly going into other products that are specializing in other things. Is osteoporosis one that you're going to be, bone health, that you might consider? Because here I am wearing my weighted vest, and it's something that I'm trying to conquer. And I do lift a lot of weights and do other things, but diet again is important. And I'm just curious about that. Is that in the realm, in the list?
I'm already making a bone product. I haven't put it out on the market, but I make it for friends that have osteoporosis. So yeah, and there's specific nutrients. And the way that it works is you have the smoothie, which is covering all of these bases, but then there are very specific nutrients. You're going to, I'm sure, know of them. But vitamin D is clearly, you need that. Vitamin K2 is clearly an important one. Magnesium, clearly an important one, et cetera, et cetera. You put those together in a package and you're going to have real results. And in fact, most of the things that I'm hoping to do is work with doctors and offer guarantees to the patient if they're willing to do it through a doctor and they have their measurements done. They don't pay me, they pay the doctor. This is a real guarantee. They would pay the doctor, and then when their number is reached, it gets released to me, because I'm so confident that it will help, but they have to show up and do it. So that's the one risk I'll say on my side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I just kind of gathered some old bottles that I have of just a small amount, because I didn't save everything. But there was a time when I was taking all kinds of stuff, supplements, and I was spending upwards of probably around, it could have been as high as $300 a month at one point. And I was working with a doctor, and it wasn't showing up high enough or good enough in the blood, even though it was going up. And I I slowly on my own decided that wasn't the direction that I wanted to go. And so I don't take those anymore. I currently do take B12. And that's it for supplements. But now I've been using this as well. And so it's just interesting that I have these bottles and I could go and look and like see, oh, well, what is my old D or turmeric or, whatever it was that I was taking? What is that made out of? And I was noticing that it's very different than the label on the back of yours. And so it's good to, look stuff up and check your bottles and see what you find. I know I said this earlier, but I feel so strongly about it that I thought it was worth repeating. And so, can you tell me, like, how do you get all of these different things that you talked about, the mushrooms and the different berries and all the greens and all of the different enzymes and probiotics and everything? I mean, you're and why okay, so how are you getting that in here, right? Is there a one shop stop where you go, like I believe
I
most
wish.
supplements do? Yeah, how many?
I wish there was.
Oh,
No, there is not. So the way, two things. Let me say one thing that you just talked about there. You talked about all these supplements that you were taking. It is very hard, even if you're very skilled in it, to determine all these things that you specifically need and have them balance out and everything like that. That was another reason why I did this, because everything has a consequence, or a lot of things do, that you need to take into account. If somebody's taking zinc, their copper level is going to go down because they're antagonistic towards the same receptor sites. And so if, say, somebody is like, oh, I want my testosterone to be better, and they start taking zinc, it will likely impact their testosterone. It will be a very good thing, but their copper levels are going to drop through the floor, which increases your risk by about 5 times of having a stroke. I mean, so it's really important to have things, again, gently all coming together and working together, as opposed to where you have these things that are pushing down one thing. I see these people taking supplements that have 3,000% of the vitamin B6, but nothing else, or they have huge amounts of vitamin E, usually in a synthetic form, or these are, to me, these are ways to throw somebody off. So
right.
and then how did I get all of these? So the way a typical person that wanted to just go in and create a supplement, they go to a contract manufacturer who has all these ingredients on their list of what they carry, and you go, oh, I want ascorbic acid or vitamin C, I want thiamine hydrochloride, and I want this, put it all together. They place one purchase order with the co-packer, who puts it all into capsules or into a powder or whatever they're doing, and puts it all together, and it just plops out, and they have their final say. It's done all the time. There's a whole industry of it. The way I did it is I researched every ingredient that goes in there. I went all over the world to get it. The iodine is from a blend of 3 organic kelps from Iceland, far away from any industrialized center. The zinc is from organic guava leaf extract from India. The mushrooms are from a company in the United States with high beta glucan, all certified high beta glucan, low starch. And the reason why you want low starch is because you want as little of the growing medium that it was created on, because they're grown on a substrate, sometimes oats, sometimes sorghum, or sometimes wood pulp, but you don't want that in the final product. So having them certifying those levels. And so, I mean, the enzymes that I got are from an old ancient Japanese style of creating enzymes in the koji fashion, which is a very gentle, again, natural way of creating enzymes. So it was a lot of work. It took me 3.5 years to put it together, and a lot of research done for years on what it was health, and then how to actually put that into a product, because I was in a different business. So learning all this was an amazingly difficult thing. So
Wow. Oh my gosh. I just got excited just listening to that, and the care that went into it. being able to go to all those places, Iceland and everywhere that you mentioned, just to make sure that your product was, the best that it could possibly be, the ultimate product, is just amazing to hear. And yeah, I never have heard anybody talk like that about products that I may have bought at, a big box store or even online. So, yeah. Are there any other points that you'd like to discuss about your product or things that you think people might not know that's commonly asked?
Well, let me tell you, I'll bring up a point I'll say that's on the difficult side for it. And that is, I went after or creating this to make this the perfect product. Of course, there's no such thing, but when I first did this, I didn't even look at the price. If it was a good thing, I put it in there. And so my product is an expensive product. It's not a normal. If you look at Athletic Greens or Kachava or Huel or all these things, they're all much less expensive. They're all synthetics or using synthetics for their nutrition, but I cannot compete. The guava leaf extract that I just talked to you about has a high level of zinc in it, and that is how I'm getting my zinc. And it costs 45 times more than zinc oxide to get the same amount of zinc. The vitamin C from a blend of freeze-dried organic berries costs 25 times more than ascorbic acid. So one of the real downsides is that to get all of this nutrition in whole food, it's not inexpensive. So that is the downside.
Yeah. So, but when you, and just hearing what you said, when you compare, this product being a very expensive product, it sounded like you were comparing it to other products on the market, but there aren't any other products like this on the market. So is it really comparable?
Currently, there's not a single one like that. And I know that's a bold statement, but I've been in this business now for, 4.5 years, and
Yeah.
I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of products, and there are very good products out there, but they're not comprehensive if they are.
Yeah.
And then there are very comprehensive products, but everything that I've seen they're all synthetic. So in terms of comprehensiveness, and again, this was a perfectionistic product. I was retired when I created this. I sold another business and I was out, but this is something that's just been my passion for many years. And I want to really see it make a huge impact on people's lives. And the way that it can really do that is if they participate in their own health and create a smoothie on top of it. Because I've now done these little mini studies and showing how much of an impact can happen on oxidative stress, on or inflammation level as measured by C-reactive protein, on micronutrient levels, on functionality. And so huge things can happen if it all comes together. And that's what gets me all excited.
So if somebody were to get a bag of this and they wanted to try it, how many days, how long is this going to last them if they're doing to start with the 1 scoop, and then you said go up to 2 scoops?
Yeah, when somebody's doing a full serving, it lasts a month. They're 24 servings, but again, you only take it for 5 or 6 days a week. So that means it's going to last about a month, right? And so, but that's if you're doing a full serving. And a lot of people, what I've noticed is once their numbers all get into a really good spot, they go down to a half a dose. And so then it's lasting 2 months, essentially. And again, for me, I still take a full dose because I make the product and it was designed that way. But I'm kind of, again, a perfectionist. But so if somebody's taking it in the full serving, it's going to last, 1 bag is going to last a month.
Okay. And so I was on your site checking it all out, and I know that you have different prices. I know you have one price that's just a one time, and I think you do have a subscribe and save type of discounted. Tell me if I'm wrong. And so I'm just curious if you could give me an idea of, since you brought up price, people might be wondering. I mean, they could certainly use the link that we're going to put in the show notes. You were kind enough to give us a link to offer 15% off for customers on their first order. But just kind of wondering because, like I said earlier, for me, I was spending smaller amounts on those bottles that I showed you, but when I calculated it all together, I actually think I was spending more. So, I guess it's relative depending on where you are and kind of what you're doing. And so, yeah, do you mind sharing?
No, not at all. So it's $189 if somebody just comes in off the street without a discount code and buys one bag. It's $189 plus shipping. And the shipping's usually like $6 or $7. So, and then it's $159 if somebody buys under a subscription, and it's cancelable at any time. And again, this is my passion. If somebody is unhappy, send it back and there's no questions asked. So I want to make this a risk-free purchase. And I also jump on and help people dial in what they're doing. So if they're actually interested, they write in and I jump on a phone call or a Zoom call with them and I'll take them through it because I enjoy that. So, so that's the price. And then we have a 2-bag subscription and a 2-bag one-time purchase. And those have also a discount as well.
So that's wonderful. And then, so then because you brought it up, I thought it was important to just kind of let people know, and they can, go, "Yikes, that's a lot," or "Wow, that's not really that much compared to what I'm doing." Because, you won't be buying the synthetic ones, right? You're going to be trading them if you're going to try something like this. And hopefully you are eating whole food, plant-based, which will only give you better benefits. And so, I just thank you for sharing that. Do you have anything coming up, new products, events, or anything that we haven't touched on that you might want people to know about?
Well, the osteoporosis formula is going to be coming out, probably not for another 4 or 6 months. We're going to have a testosterone formula coming out and probably about the same time period. And then there's one for blood sugar, for hypertension. These are likely to come out in 2025.
That's awesome. So I just want to ask one more question, and that is, so if I'm just curious, like, how much food would I need to buy and eat to equal what's in one bag of this? And you don't have to do it by the month, but just even by the day, like, I'm just wondering, how much food I would have to buy. And I know costs are different across where you are, but just a general idea, because the quantity it's probably not even possible, right, to eat as much as you could get in here. But I don't know, just a fun question. And it's fine if you don't have any ideas, but I was kind of thinking about that.
Well, it would be crazy. If you're trying to equal the nutrients, it would be crazy amounts because it's hard to get zinc. You have to really things like zinc, or most things don't have it. So I really specifically went out to find specific nutrients in ways that are from whole foods. So I have an amla, which is a specific amla extract, which is an Indian gooseberry, which is probably the third highest source of vitamin C. I also have freeze-dried acerola cherry, organic acerola cherry powder. Again, that's the highest source. Then I have several other vitamin C's. So that's how I got my vitamin C. I didn't want it just from one source. I wanted it from multiple sources. Ooh. And so to get that, you would have to eat, like if you were just going to get it from oranges, let's say, you'd have to eat several oranges to get that for any serving. Like you don't just get that from, a couple of slices of oranges. You have to eat like several oranges to get. So it would be a lot for somebody to replace all of that for the nutrients. But Yeah, so I've never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head, but it would not be inexpensive, and it would take a real effort to get those kind of nutrients, especially in that balanced amount.
Yeah, and I love that you said that it's done in a water soluble way. So anything that your body really doesn't need, you don't have to worry about, having too much and it stay in the system, that it will just flush out, which is good to know in case people are concerned about that.
That's only for the water soluble vitamins.
Oh,
There are vitamins that are I'll say that are fat soluble, and those can collect. So that's why I made sure to not have too much of them.
oh,
So
got it.
there's nothing in there that I felt like that would put somebody at risk. So I did not put any iron in there, but it naturally just occurred because it's all whole plant foods. So I have a certain amount of iron in there, but again, it was just what was in there when we put it, and I checked it with a lab test. And so I want people to know that's there. Now, the difference between, and I'm sure you know this, and most of your listeners do, but the difference between a plant-based iron and a heme iron is very different in terms of how your body absorbs it. So your body can choose to absorb iron to a much greater effect if it's from plant-based, whereas if it's heme iron, you're almost going to absorb it whether you want to or not. And that's why you want to keep your iron levels where you're not in anemia, but as low as possible outside of that, because every increase in iron puts you at higher and higher risk of all these things, and heart
Interesting.
disease, cancer, things like that.
Wow, interesting. Wow. Well, I've learned so much from you again today. And if you are ready, we could try to make your smoothie. I thought we could both make it together and then we could taste it together. And we'll put the recipe in the show notes if people want to try it. And are you ready for that?
I'm all ready to go. I even have a little cheat sheet here. So yeah.
Nice. So tell me what's going into it. I'm going to grab my Vitamix and then you can talk about what we're going to be putting into the smoothie and maybe why you chose that certain food.
So if you don't mind, I'll talk about this, but I'm going to give a little bit of a global, like how you make what I call a life-changing smoothie. What are the components of that? So the first thing in the ingredient list here is, oh, I got to grab.
Yeah. And so I just think that it's really great if this is something that's of interest to you, just knowing that he guarantees and you can, if you're not happy, you can reach out and it sounds like he would refund your money, although we'll double check when he comes back. Is that right,
Yes,
Stephen?
of course.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I feel like there's no real risk actually, other than just all benefits. And so, of course, you want to check with your healthcare professional. We're not giving medical advice to anyone. These are just making you aware of, checking out what you're taking or being curious about it. And always check your blood or ask, just make sure that you're doing what fits for you. I just want to say that.
That makes a lot of sense. So the first thing we're putting in is basically a third of an avocado. Actually, this is a half, but avocado is monounsaturated fats, and it's just a very healthy thing. But one of the key things that I want to say is, in a really healthy smoothie, you always want to have some fats, because otherwise, all the fat soluble vitamins will go right through you without being absorbed. And there's like a 15-fold difference between having fat present and not having fat present with like beta carotene and things like that, where they're fat soluble. So,
Wow. So the avocado, because I know that some people might be afraid of avocado, although I think it's a wonderful food because it's got the fiber and the water and the fats, like you said. And so you're saying that it's important to have a certain kind of fat to make sure that your body is absorbing all the fat soluble things that are in this product. Is that what I understood?
yeah, things like beta carotene, vitamin E, these things really don't get absorbed well unless there's fat present. So pretty important to have some fat. You don't need to overdo it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about plant-based fats, it's very different than saturated fats from animals and trans fats, especially from either animals or processed foods. So
Yeah. Thank you.
another thing so one, the avocado gives a really nice feel. It's a good, healthy fat, so things will absorb, and it's just healthy on its own. The next thing is a nut and seed butter, or if you want, just nuts directly. And even better, if for extra credit, you can soak them overnight and have sprouted ones. So
Oh, I love
those are
that.
all possible. Here is a nut and seed butter. This is called Nutso. I have no affiliation with them, but it's a great all organic, 7 nuts and seeds. And so to me, this is a very healthy way of getting a blend of nuts and seeds in. And nuts and seeds are one of the healthiest things. I mean, in terms of their risk of lowering heart disease, especially, but cancer, I mean, it's a very healthy thing to add in there.
So before we go on, I just want to share that I'm using almond butter, and mine is just ground up almonds. But I loved that you just talked about sprouting. And can you just really quickly share about if somebody wanted to do that? Like, how do you need a special kind of sprouting nut, or do you just take almonds or walnuts, or how do you get it to sprout, like you said? Because, I'm an overachiever and I want the bonus points.
I'm an overachiever. Yes. So you need to make sure they're raw and they're not cooked, right? And then you sprout them. I just do this. I sprout them overnight, and that's it. And I then put them in my smoothie in the morning, and that's it. It's a very simplistic thing. So and then just drain the water and put them in.
So you take the raw nut, you put it underwater overnight, and then drain it, and it's ready to go. We're not looking for little tails like you get on
Yep.
green sprouts. You're just really wanting it to soften up, and then you add it. Great. Okay.
Yep. Let's see. So the next thing is purple cabbage. Now, whenever I make a smoothie, I pretty much always make it with a cruciferous vegetable. Sometimes there are several cruciferous vegetables. In this case, it's purple cabbage.
Okay. And I love purple cabbage, green cabbage. Even Brussels sprouts remind me of little cabbages. So I'm sure you could use any of those, but we'll have to ask Steven for sure.
Well, so what I do with cruciferous, I usually use cauliflower or purple cabbage, or sometimes I'll even put in broccoli, but broccoli has a pretty strong taste.
Yeah.
So I don't do that too often. But one of the things that I do, and that is I put in often I sprout my own broccoli sprouts. And that's because it has 10 to 100 times the amount of sulforaphane, or the active ingredient, the active anti-cancerous ingredient in purple cabbage or broccoli or cauliflower or anything like that. So those are just really good ways. If somebody is very concerned about cancer, and in this country, 40% of Americans, according to the CDC, are going to develop cancer, an invasive form, in their life. So it's a very good preventative way of adding to it. Now, I have broccoli sprouts in my product. I have kale and I have broccoli. So I have a bunch of them already, but there's only so much, again, that I can put into the product. So I always add more. So
Okay, and there goes mine, and yay for the greens, 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 greens. Okay.
yeah, they're one of the absolute healthiest veggies.
Yeah, and I'll just share that right now. I have broccoli sprouts going too.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, they
All right.
yeah, they're over there on the other side. They haven't really done anything. I just started soaking them yesterday, so they're not ready, or I would put them in there.
Well, so greens are such an important thing. Same with, I mean, all of those things. But if you look at, there was a study done on Americans and what they get. And I think I sent you over the link. So it should be if people want to look it up. And it's what we eat. And it was put together, I believe, by the National Institutes of Health, if I remember. But it looked at what Americans were getting of all the major components. And they had greens as one. and only 4% of Americans were getting their greens. Only 2% were getting their orange vegetables. Only 3% were getting their legumes. They don't talk about nuts and seeds in the one that you're attached, but they did do that on another one, and only 13% were getting that. So people are not getting their whole foods, and it's so important to do that. So again, orange vegetables. Here is just a standard. This is a farmer's market carrot that we're putting in. So there we go with that.
And I'm just going to say my carrot, I grew it in my garden.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
So, but it doesn't matter. Any carrot will work, right? You know, just do your best.
Any carrot will work. Purple carrots are very good as well.
Woo, I do not have purple carrots in my garden. That would be fun.
So the next thing are the greens. These are actually ones that I just had. I bought at my local farmer's market and then just froze. So
oh, you froze them. That's interesting. Now I've never done that. And so do you freeze it overnight, or how many hours? Does it matter?
You know, in this case, I just put it in there because I don't want them to get slimy and go bad if I don't use them for a few days. So I just put them in there, and since I don't blanch them, it doesn't destroy the enzymes, and therefore they're still, almost all the nutrition is still there, and it really slows down that degradation process.
So there goes mine, and I really packed it. So it looks more than yours, but was just packed in, same as what the recipe calls for.
Okay, well, very good. So in the next thing, we have both blueberries and cherries, and 1.5 cups each. This is a lot of blueberries and cherries. Now, these are both, I mean, the blueberries have tons of anthocyanins in them, which are just so heart protective and brain protective. There have been so many studies, but specifically heart protective. I mean, it's just crazy how good that is. And then the cherries, these are really dark cherries, organic. Do you have those as well?
You know what? I do actually have dark organic cherries. These were frozen. I bought these frozen from Costco. They're organic, dark, sweet cherries, but I do have the regular ones. And then I was feeling like, well, these already have the pits out.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it. It's so much easier. And if somebody is wanting to save money, Costco has a great deal. I think it's 3 pounds for like $9 or $10. I mean, it's really inexpensive and it's organic. So it's a very good way. And cherries have been just so good at lowering inflammation, and they're just high in antioxidants. They're just a healthy food overall. So
yes. And the blueberries, can you touch on them? Because, you know, I sometimes have wild blueberries. These are not wild. These are just the regular blueberries, organic. But, you know, I know the wild blueberries I tend to use because they're higher in nutrients. But, you know, can you touch on if somebody didn't know which ones to pick, if it matters?
Well, I always start with berries because they're so exposed. I always get organic. But wild blueberries would be my preference. And when I've seen the studies on them, they have more nutrients than even organic. So to me, that's a better way to go if you can get them. But don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. So if you can, just get really good quality stuff and do the best you can.
I love it.
Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to put in a couple of scoops of my SOS so that we cover all those things that we talked about earlier.
So
now, because I've been doing this for so long, I am doing the full 2 scoops or the full serving. But again, for your listeners, if they do decide to go ahead, just start with 1 scoop for a couple of weeks before moving up. So just getting
I'm going big like you, and I have been using 2. I did start with 1, like you said, but I'm up to 2, so I put 2 in as well. And I just kind of also wanted to show so people could see, you know, it's a very fine powder. It's just really, really fine. And there's the scoop, so you can see the size of the scoop.
Well, it's a decent amount still because you can see those scoops add up to a lot of material. So, and it does have both organic sprouted flax and organic sprouted chia seeds, as well as organic sunflower. So there is some bulk in there as well. So, and I put those in because just in case people take it without having in a smoothie with fats or anything, those will have fats, which are almost all omega-3s, which is what we were looking for. And so so they would still absorb it. That was the big thing there. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about. I'm not putting these in. I have dates. If somebody wants something sweeter, to me, pitted dates are the best way to go. You just need to have a pretty solid blender if you're going to do that. For flavorings, people can use vanilla, like a vanilla powder or vanilla extract. Vanilla extract has a tiny amount of alcohol. Some people are not going to want that. Another thing is cinnamon adds a very nice flavor, background flavor, in my opinion. It's also very healthy. Now, there are two different types of main types on the market. There's cassia cinnamon and Ceylon cinnamon. Ceylon is the one that I would choose because cassia, though, lowers blood sugar much better. It has a liver toxin in it. So I stay away from using it. It's not bad if you're using tiny amounts, but when I put it into a smoothie, I actually put a decent amount in. So I always would want to use Ceylon cinnamon.
And so if you were going to add the cinnamon and you said a healthy amount, what would that be? A
So
tablespoon?
I measure it and weigh it. So it's probably, but let me see. When I do a full, it's about 2 to 3 grams, which is probably a half a teaspoon.
Okay, that's decent. Okay, yeah.
So I do that. Now for liquids, what I always do is either a purified water and or a plant-based milk, an organic plant-based milk. And when I do those, I get something, and I know some people don't like soy, but I think soy is an excellent one. It has so many good nutrients in it, in my opinion. But like you'll see on this one, it just says organic soy and water. That's all you want. Because otherwise, if they put in the calcium and the vitamin D and all this, all of their stuff is synthetic. It's all the cheapest of the cheap. Personally, I would never want to do that. I would rather not just have it organic soybeans or organic almonds and water, or organic hemp seeds and water. So to me, that's my preference. If you can't find it, just do the best you can, but that's what I always look for.
And
So
I'm using a soy milk too, made not that brand, but I am familiar with that brand, but it's also soybeans and water. And so, yeah, but you could use any plant milk. And I like how you just, said, make sure you check the ingredients, and that you can find them with just one ingredient, like almonds or oats or whatever, and water. It's like a no-brainer. So yeah, always check the labels.
yeah, exactly. So, and then I'm just going to put in an amount to match. So that's about good. All right. So, that's the main way. Now, what's in here? Take my product out of it. It has so much nutrition in that. I mean, all these berries. I mean, we're talking about a lot of berries. We're talking about a lot of greens and orange vegetables and nuts and seeds. Like and cruciferous vegetables. I mean, it's just a tremendous amount of nutrition, a lot of fiber, a lot of potassium, which almost nobody gets. And so we're covering a lot of things. And then again, I'm going to plug my product for a second. Then it comes in and fills in all of those gaps that are not in a normal smoothie.
Yeah.
So to me, when I've designed this, I had this vision of people making a smoothie and really transforming their health. And so that is what my ultimate goal from doing this was.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so I also thought, do we also add water?
Yeah, that's not the amount. I have down 6 ounces of water and 6 ounces of a plant-based milk for that. So,
Okay.
but you put in whatever amount of that's needed, but that's about right for what we put in there. Might be a little bit more that we're going to need.
Okay, no worries. So we're both gonna probably not be heard for a minute while we blend up. I'm gonna plug my
Hey,
guy in here and do a little blending, do a little smoothie making.
all right, sounds good. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Okay.
That was fun.
That
I
was
love
fun.
dancing when my appliances are going.
Well, that is, do you have yours? Okay.
Yep, I'm gonna pour it right now. And it looks fantastic. I tend to like it a little thicker, and this is perfect for me. And so here we go, right?
All right. Cheerio.
Cheerio. Mm. Wow, I really like to describe the flavors. I can taste the peanut. Um, and I just very subtle. Everything blends so well. It's sweet, even though I didn't add the dates or anything extra. It's sweet for me. And I like the creaminess that I think probably came from the soy milk. And gosh, I do want to talk about, can you taste the flavor of your product? Now, I don't think I can taste anything, but I also feel like I know it's there. So, can you describe what you're tasting in yours?
So I can taste the greens that I added in. I can taste my product just in the very, very, very far background. I can the berries. So the creaminess that you're experiencing almost surely is coming from two things: the avocado and the nut and seed butter. So those are going to give
Oh,
it the most, and that's going to give it a nice mouthfeel as well. So, but overall, see, the thing that I like about this recipe is it's covering so many things. And one thing I want to say is I used to always put banana in everything, but I've stopped doing that because there's an enzyme in banana called PPC, and it's what is it? I even put it down, polyphenol oxidase. And unfortunately, there's so many flavonoids that we just added in, which are super good for health, and that PPC blocks the absorption of flavonoids. So I don't put bananas in as often. Sometimes I still put them in every once in a while, but I really try and get my bananas in another way as opposed to in my smoothie.
got it. Yeah, and I've heard that too. And so, but and that's something to bring up and talk about. And if this is new, if you're new and you're just starting out, I would say don't worry about that. Just make something that you're going to enjoy, and you can always evolve into that and learn more about it. But I am glad that you brought that up, and it usually brings out a a thickness, and you're right. I said the plant milk, but you're right. It's the avocado and the nut butter, and it's just so I don't feel like I'm missing a banana. It tastes great.
Yeah, no, the thing is I want to, make sure people's expectations are met. This is all whole foods, and it has to me, a nice, pleasant flavor, but it's not a milkshake, right? It's not really super sweet, and I'm assuming anybody watching this show is not expecting that. But it's like got a nice flavor. Like to me, it's a very nice flavor, and I don't remember the last time I had a milkshake, probably 30 years ago. So I don't actually even know what they taste like anymore.
Yeah.
But I just know that your listeners probably I just don't want them to expect something that it's not, but
Yeah.
it's a nice flavor. Like to
Oh, I
me,
think I think it's really great. And you're making me think of some ideas. I want to ask you a question, but I also want to share something. And the question is, what other ways besides a smoothie could you use the product? And then the other thing I want to say is, could I take this, for example, and put it in popsicle shaped things and have it as like a refreshing type of popsicle dessert, on a sunny day? Have you tried that?
I've never tried that. It never even crossed my mind, to be quite honest. So
Yeah.
yes, you could. I don't know how well it would unfreeze to do that, but I would say I would be very curious to hear if you give it a try,
Okay.
how
I'm
it
going
goes.
to do it. I'm going to freeze some of this when we get off the call, and I'm going to follow up and let you know. I'll even taste it and we'll attach it to the end here. So that'll
Yeah.
be fun.
One thing I'll say is what I've noticed that because there are enzymes in my product, and those enzymes are there so that we absorb everything that we can from
Mm.
it. And it was designed by a company called Enzymology Research, which is the one that does the Japanese style of koji traditional enzymes. The problem with it is when it starts breaking down, it breaks down faster than it normally would because there are
Oh,
enzymes present. So I'm going to need to decide if I want that because it does have the positive. Somebody has it quickly, it's a very good thing, but it starts to break it down faster than it
mm.
would. So it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Okay. And the other part is there another way to ingest this besides making a smoothie? Let's say you didn't have time, or you were on vacation, or you didn't have a blender. Could you just How could you make it?
You mean how could you take the product without making it into a smoothie?
Yes, without adding it into a smoothie.
Well, some people are just mixing it in with water, but and in fact, a lot of people are doing that now. But
Oh,
personally, this is just much better way. I mean, it doesn't have any flavorings or sweeteners in it, so
yeah.
it's not necessarily perfect that way, but you just drink it down.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
not, I don't know exactly. Like to me, this is by far the
Yeah.
best way to do it, but not everybody has it. When I go traveling, I just bring it and I'll just mix it in with water and or something like that.
Yeah, I know that you could even take like leftover watermelon and use that liquid. So just to know that it is possible, but you prefer it in a smoothie. And that's really great. I tasted it a few more times, and I can taste, like, I don't know, if just a very slight grain. I have to search for it. And I'm guessing that whatever it is, I don't know if it's the product or not, but overall, I think this is a fantastic smoothie. I will be making this again. Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know
And
I've made this type of smoothie and I've changed it around at different times and I make refrige smoothies or whatever I have in the refrigerator. When I just look in there, oh, okay, I've got some greens and I've got this and I've got grapes instead. I've got this, whatever it is. And I just start throwing it together. And sometimes it
yeah.
come out really well and sometimes not as well. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you so very much for taking the time to share the recipe, to talk about the product, to help people understand the difference between synthetic and what we might be taking as a supplement and whole food, and just all that you shared. I am so grateful. I appreciate everything that you have brought today, and I look forward to working more with you and learning more about your products as they come out too.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for having me on. This has been really fun. And I've never done that before where somebody's blending at the same time and then we taste it together. So that was fun. And thanks for having me on. This has really been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like I said, we're going to put a link for a discount below if you are interested, and the recipe and all of the links that you had shared about different studies and things. If you have any questions, please put a question below. Both of us can get back to you. We really appreciate your time. We'd love to hear from you. Give this a thumbs up and let us know you enjoyed the content. And if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and let us notify you when we go live or post new videos. And so thank you so much. Don't forget to eat your greens, try something new, and be curious about what you're ingesting. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Okay, so it's the next day and I just took these out of the freezer. I wanted to check it out with you and see what this tastes like and maybe how it turned out in a popsicle form. Now, sometimes when I take them out, I've got to, oh, okay, so first of all, it slid right out. Sometimes I have to wet the outside of this so that it will soften it, but no, it came right out and it looks pretty good. It has the SOS in it and that whole recipe that we did together. So let's taste it. Yeah, I mean, it tastes like it did yesterday, only it is in popsicle form. And so for me, being out here in Arizona, it's a nice way to cool off. Although, you can bite it. Although, it's probably better to make it and drink it. But who knows? I don't know. But what I do know is that this tastes good. So thanks for hanging out and exploring with me, being curious and trying something new. This is a great way for me to get my greens in. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.